everyone, and happy Sunday. For today's weekend what, I'm adding another recipe. And the reason is, a couple days ago, we're doing quarantine, we're cooking a lot, but my kids asked me, Mom, how do you make bread? So I said, actually, it's pretty easy. And then when I was on Pinterest, I saw that one of my teacher friends had pinned a recipe for bagels. And the kids were like, oh, we'd love to have some bagels. So here's the thing. This is one of the easiest things you can do. The only problem is it just takes time, which now we have a whole lot of time because I'm not going anywhere. So this is how easy this recipe is. And we'll put it together in chunks, but all you need is flour, salt, yeast, Stop and Shop has yeast, and sugar, okay? And a little warm water, and we'll add that in. But that's it, that's all that's in a bagel. Now, I happen to also have this seasoning here, which is McCormick's Everything Bagel Seasoning, which we'll add on. But to make the most simple bagel, all you need is flour, a tiny bit of sugar, a little bit of salt, yeast, and water. Super easy. So I'm gonna get our materials ready, and we'll get started on this recipe. This recipe starts with our yeast mixture again. What I'm gonna do is I have about a half a cup of warm water, and I'm gonna put in 1.5 tablespoons of just plain white sugar. So for me, this is my half tablespoon measure. So I'm gonna do 3 of these, leave it like that. And then I'm gonna take this packet of yeast. In this recipe, it calls for 2 teaspoons. This whole package is about 2 1/4. It's fine. Just go ahead and put it in because a lot of it sticks to the side anyway. I'm gonna put that in. I'm gonna mix it a little bit. That's it. Like not a lot at all. You don't want it clumped on your spoon. And we're gonna sit and we'll come back and see what it looks like. All right, so while the yeast is doing its thing, we're gonna put 3.5 cups of flour into a bowl. I'm using regular flour here. When I tried out this recipe, I did do a gluten-free version and a regular version. The gluten-free, you could use regular gluten-free flour. It comes out a little bit more dense. That's just the way it is. So that's 3, but this definitely rises. And I kind of eyeball it because we're gonna be needing more flour into this. I was joking around with my family saying, you know, when Little House on the Prairie was cooking bread, they didn't really have precise measurements. So don't panic if it's not precise. You'll know when the feel gets in there. And then I'm adding about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. This is about 1/2 teaspoon. I'm pouring it over my hand so I can catch any extras. That's 1, 2, 3 of those guys. And we're gonna mix this up and create a well. Check out that yeast and what it's doing. It's doing its magic there and it's kind of frothing up together. So what we're going to do is I've created a little bit of a well. When I say well, you kind of wanna make it like a hole, like when you're playing in the sandbox and you put some ocean water in there or some water. I'm gonna mix this just a little bit so it's fully dissolved in there because I really didn't mix it a lot. I wanted it to kind of do its thing. And I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna pour it into the center here of this bowl. Pour it on in. Little bubbles and all. It's got some of that sugar in there. Okay, and now I'm going to slowly pull this in on each other. You can see this. I'm just kind of mixing this together, slowly mixing it. You're gonna need your hands, so make sure they're nice and clean. And you can add about, the recipe says to add 1/3 cup more water, warm water into it. You might need more than that. So I'm not even paying attention to how much I'm putting in because remember, it's all about the texture and the feel. And we want it to be a pretty wet dough. I'm gonna keep working on this. I can tell right now I'm gonna be adding more water and we'll come back when it's right at the consistency that I want it to be. So if you see, this is a pretty wet dough and I used a spatula just because it would get my fingers all really sticky. It's a pretty wet dough, but that's okay because when we knead it, we're going to basically like roll it out like good old kindergarten Play-Doh. And when we knead it, we're gonna be working more and more flour into the mixture, so it's okay. I'm gonna scooch out all of this because I'm gonna reuse the bowl for when we have this dough rise. There's no need to use a separate bowl there. I'm gonna put it off to the side, put this here, and then I'm gonna be slowly working in, putting a lot of flour on top, working this in and kneading this. Now, this is where bread is so easy, and bagels in this particular instance is so easy. Problem is it takes time. So 10 full minutes of kneading and flipping and coating underneath and folding it back in and pushing it down like this. I can remember all the times my grandmother used to make bread, and it was great. And she used her hands just like this, push and pull it back. Make sure your counter is totally floured and you're working in extra flour. I'm gonna do this for about 10 minutes. I'll be back. All right, so as I was doing this, my daughter said, this is like slime. It kind of is. You get to do all your slime stuff, but I've kind of shaped it into a ball. The bottom's not perfect, so don't worry about it. But I've shaped it into a ball. What we're gonna do is I have a little bit of olive oil. I'm gonna oil up this same pan that I have, and I'm just gonna oil up the bottom so it doesn't stick when it rises. I'm gonna oil up the top and all around the sides because it's gonna help us a little later. Okay, I'm gonna drop this in here. Here it is. We're hoping that it's gonna double, and we're going to set this to rise for an hour. Remember, you need a warm spot for it to rise. Last cooking show, I gave you my little hint that what I will do is I will preheat the oven and have it heat up to about like 250, turn it off, let it sit for a little bit, and then when it's coming back down, it doesn't need to be that temperature at all. You wanna make sure you turn it off. When it's coming back down, you can put your dough in there to rise. So I'm covering it with a wet tea towel that I wrang out. I'm just gonna cover it up 1 hour to make this sit, and then we'll take a peek at it. All right, so it's been over an hour actually, and take a look at this. It has more than doubled in size. So this is a fun part. Get your aggression out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna punch it down, and we're gonna let it sit for another 10 minutes, but I'm gonna punch that dough on down. Look at it deflate. All right, so that dough has rested, and now I just put it right back on my countertop with a little bit of flour, and I'm trying to cut it into as close to 8 even pieces as possible. You could use a knife or whatever, it doesn't matter. I like my pizza cutter. The next step is to take these and to form these into balls. And you're gonna kind of just like roll it around like you're making that, remember I told you that kindergarten Play-Doh ball? And roll it around a little bit and keep going till you can form this ball, okay? You're gonna do this for each one of them, kind of forming the ball. I'm gonna do this for every single one of them, leave it right there, and then come back and they'll be magically done. All right, they're done. Now, meanwhile, I've preheated my oven to 425 degrees. That's the bell now. And I have a big pot of water that's boiling. Right now, there's nothing in the water. In a minute, I'm gonna add some sugar, and I'll tell you why. But now, these don't really look like bagels yet. So this is the fun part. I have a little flour here. I'm gonna flour up my thumb. I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna pop a hole right in the center. And then I'm gonna kind of stretch it out just a little bit because these are gonna continue to rise, this dough. And if you have too small of a hole, it's gonna close up. But take a look. There you go, that's our first bagel. I'm gonna throw it on here and fill it up. All right, so my water has come to a boil. I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of sugar. The last time I did this, I didn't add this, and I was reading other recipes, and they said that the sugar kind of gives a nice crunch coating when you boil these. So who knew bagels are boiled? I'm gonna take these bagels, I think I can fit 4 at a time. I'm gonna take them in here, I'm just gonna drop them in. Take a look, they're gonna float to the top. I'm gonna let them boil on one side for about 1.5 minutes and then flip them over. All right, this is my last one out of the pot. Look how cool they look. I'm gonna go ahead and do the next batch. All right, so these are now resting. These are the ones that were boiled. Look how big they got already. I just beat 1 egg up, nothing else added to it, and I'm just doing like an egg wash, they call it, over top of these. And then we have 2 options for toppings. I was gonna do these as all everything bagels, but not everybody in my house likes all the garlic and onion. So I made a plate up of cinnamon, sugar, and a little nutmeg. So hopefully there'll be like a little bit of French toast. And that's why I'm getting this egg wash on. And I'm gonna take this bagel. It's a little firm now, which means it's gonna hold its shape. I'm dipping it in this generously. And then getting it all around and then putting it here. I'm gonna keep going. This is the everything bagel topping. So I'm gonna go ahead and shake this on. This has the egg wash already. I'm gonna kind of protect my cinnamon so they don't bleed in, but put a lot on. All right, check these out, 2 different varieties, and I'm putting them in the oven for 20 minutes. Here we go. Folks, it's like a real New York City bagel. We can't go there to get them, but with flour, yeast, water, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of salt, you can make your own. They look awesome. From our kitchen to yours. Enjoy.